Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Day in Extra channel, and this is the last, breakdown of the mountain stage of the Giro d'Italia 2025, and as always I'm joined by Patrick Blake of Outdoor Cycling, and wow, what a stage. Patrick, just wow. And yeah, what exactly happened?
Yes, the stage 20 of the Giro d'Italia, taken in the Colle de Finestre, which is the big mountain stage we were all looking forward to. Last time we saw this was obviously in 2018, where Froome did the almost seemingly impossible and took the Maya Rosa. But this is 2025. We see a big breakaway getting up the road, including some decent people who might contend for the stage victory. And it looks increasingly likely like that will be the case because they're given 8 minutes and then 10 minutes of time. And you look through the list and you realize there's not that many climbers in there, and perhaps an opportunity missed for some people to try and get themselves the stage win today. But in the breakaway, most notably is, you've got guys like Chris Harper, Alessandro Verde, Galafoli, but we don't see any riders from UAE Team Emirates or EF Education Easy Post either. But Wout van Aert is up there for this Melissa bike, and obviously with such a big time gap, not really too much happens until we get to the Colle delle Finestre. That's why we're all here. In the breakaway, pretty quickly starts to evaporate. We see Alessandro Verde and Chris Harper getting up ahead of the rest of the breakaway. In the peloton, we see EF Education Easy Post taking an absolute storm into the base of the Finestre. They've got almost more people than they know what to do with. Honestly, they are setting this super hard pace at the start where people are almost doing like a lead out train on the Champs-Elysees. It's ridiculous. And you've seen like Darren Rafferty goes first, and then there's Steinhauser, Cepeda, but there wasn't really that much of an order. They were kind of riding two abreast. It was a bit strange, but anyway, the pace was hot. People were being shelled out of the back almost immediately, and we see Carapaz attack off the back of this very hard tempo. Del Toro isn't immediately on the wheel, but eventually bridges up to him. A second group forms, including Derek G, Simon Yates, Caruso, a lot of other UAE Team Emirates riders like McNulty, Micah were in that sort of second group as well. It looked like it was just going to be Carapaz and Del Toro just going up the mountain together, and we're going to see who's going to be kind of winning those two, I suppose. But then we see Simon Yates bridge over, kind of stealth mode, because he wasn't really on the cameras. He just arrived at the front, took about a 10-second breather, and then a series of attacks and counterattacks happened where Yates attacked, Carapaz attacked, Yates attacked, Carapaz attacked. Del Toro never really immediately went with all the kind of aggressive attacks, but more paced his way back on there, kind of telling as to whether he was suffering or not. Who really knows? Or whether he was just playing it a bit more tactically and a bit more sensibly, because it's like an hour-long climb. But eventually we see that Yates does manage to break away from the other two, from Carapaz and Del Toro. In the meantime, Derek G actually bridges up to Carapaz and Del Toro, but Yates at this point has got 20 seconds, 30 seconds on the Finestre. Bear in mind at this point, Wout van Aert is still further up the climb. Chris Harper does drop to Verde and he takes Tashima copy, but Yates is increasing his advantage over Del Toro and Carapaz to a minute and a half. He's virtually leading the race at this point, and yet Carapaz is the one who's setting the pace of the two. Interesting enough, we'll talk about that after this kind of little debrief, but Carapaz is the one pacing, not Del Toro, even though Del Toro has virtually lost the lead of a race. Yates gets over the top of the climb, and then it's a mission of find Wout van Aert. Where is he? On this descent, somewhere Wout van Aert is waiting, lying for his role of guiding Simon Yates to the victory of this race. We then see that Yates managed to catch up to Wout van Aert after, I must admit, Yates was really pushing it on this descent. He was almost overcooked a corner, and he was really pushing it to get every second he could. But eventually he catches up to Wout van Aert, and Wout van Aert then goes into full domestique mode. He's drilling it on the valley bit between the Finestre and the Sestelière. It was just absolute tactical brilliance from Visma Lisa bike. And this is just in stark contrast to yesterday when we were kind of slating them for what were they doing. Today was the absolute reversal. They were doing fantastically. On the other hand, UAE Team Emirates, complete disaster class from them. Who knows what was going on with UAE Team Emirates? Because Del Toro pretty much just stops pulling with Carapaz, and they are just like freewheeling side by side. Meanwhile, Wout van Aert's absolutely caning it, and he's got his head down. Del Toro's looking around towards Carapaz to do the pacing, even though Del Toro's the one who's losing the lead of the race. It's all very weird. Maybe he's waiting for teammates to come across. Maybe some of those teammates should have tried to get across to them whilst they were on the Finestre. I don't really know what was going on with UAE. Del Toro just stops pacing. The gap's going out to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, borderline 6 minutes, actually, at one point, I think I saw. And then they even get caught by Caruso and Derek G and Max Poole and other UAE Team Emirates riders. That's how slow they were going. Meanwhile, Simon Yates goes off of the work of Wout van Aert. He pulls over to the side. He's absolutely done. Hero's work today from Wout van Aert. And Yates sets off to really just put the nail in the coffin, which is pretty much exactly what he does, because behind nobody's really working. I think even Chris Hamilton's going to the front for Max Poole. I don't know why UAE didn't just immediately go to the front with McNulty and Majeka. Just increasingly strange shenanigans going on with UAE Team Emirates. But in terms of the stage, in terms of the results for Stage 20 of the Giro d'Italia 2025, Chris Harper takes his first Grand Tour victory. Great to see. Alessandro Valverde in second place, Simon Yates in third, then Garofoli, Remy Rojas, Martin Marcelluzzi, Carlos Verona, then Max Poole, Del Toro, and Pellizzari rounding out the top 10. Del Toro is 7 minutes 10 down on Harper, and Yates is 1 minute 57. So that is a difference of 5 minutes and 13 seconds between Yates and Del Toro. Bear in mind, going into today, I think the gap was about 1 minute and 30, meaning that the top 10 of GC, with just Rome left to go, Simon Yates jumps up 2 positions to take the lead of the race, takes the Maialosa. Absolutely crazy scenes. Del Toro drops to second place. He's at 3 minutes and 56 seconds down. Not sure what I'm saying. The time gap's not like anything will really change. Carapaz in third, G fourth, Caruso fifth, Pellizzari sixth, Bernal drops 1 to 7th, Rubio 8th, McNulty 9th, and Storer in 10th. Where do we even begin?
Well, where we begin is that we have a video that says, can Simon Yates finally win the Giro d'Italia, where we discussed in the preview that he could actually win the Giro, and here we are. But I mean, Chris Harper winning on the day as well, that's probably going to be overshadowed, unfortunately, by what happened here. But a great win from him, and taking the Cima Coppi as well is something that very rarely happens for a breakaway rider to win the stage and take the Cima Coppi. But yeah, with that out of the way, wow. Simon Yates, Patrick, this guy has like a rich history with the Giro, many stage victories, came close in 2018. It was on this climb where it kind of went the wrong way as well for him. So it's kind of like karma restored in some respect. And then obviously the podium as well in 2021. So he's kind of been everywhere in terms of the Giro. So I like that. It feels good, but obviously Del Toro winning would have been a great narrative as well. Carapaz winning for a second time. Yeah, but I mean, superb. And Wout van Aert just absolutely putting the last nail in the coffin of any hopes of Del Toro winning this. But I think, personally, I don't know about you, I think it was UAE underestimating this Melissa bike and Simon Yates that lost them the Giro. First of all, letting Wout van Aert up in the break, not having any UAE guys up there, like you said, and then Del Toro and Carapaz taking chunks out of each other and not respecting Simon Yates to some extent, because we saw him yesterday looking like he was probably on the verge of bonking a bit. But yeah, maybe that was all part of the plan. But yeah. Do you think UAE or was it Simon Yates? I think it was a bit of both, because Wout van Aert and Simon Yates, that link up was brilliant as well. And also another thing, the fact that when Carapaz attacks off the front, instead of getting Del Toro's teammates to chase him down, it's Del Toro chasing him down. And I think that was a bit of a mistake as well. And we saw they were out the back, the teammates, very quickly. So he was left very isolated early on the Colle delle Finestre. That's my piece.
I think also to add into the mix is that Del Toro And I don't know, maybe it wasn't Del Toro, maybe it was UE. You don't really know who's calling the shots here. But they seem really hyper focused on Carapaz as the main threat because obviously it makes sense in a way because he is the closest, or well, was the closest on GC at that point and has been posing the biggest threat in terms of his aggressive riding. So they were very just focused on marking him, which meant that Yates was less of the priority. Like every time that Yates attacked on the Finestre, it was Carapaz closing him down, not Del Toro. And Del Toro was playing a very passive game. And I think that sort of led to it as well because they were trying to play a very cool game of, we'll just let Carapaz do it because that's his second place going up the road. And it worked for a little bit until the gap became so big that Carapaz called Del Toro / UAE Team Emirates his bluff, where he was saying, hang on, it's not my second place that's going up in smoke here. You're losing the very fabric that's on your back right now. This is a bigger deal for you now than it is for me. And for some reason, Del Toro / UAE Team Emirates didn't compute this. And for whatever reason, they didn't get that they were losing the race. And even when we went over the top of the Finestre, Del Toro just stopped pacing. And it's like, that doesn't work because you're losing the race. And Carapaz has no responsibility to chase that back for you. And then you just kind of throw your toys out the pram and you just don't pace whatsoever, which ultimately, guarantees that you're going to be losing the race. It was just completely mind-numbingly stupid tactics today from UE.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we were kind of disgruntled about the tactics being done by Visma yesterday, which, was true. But here, it's kind of flipped completely. But I do think we will talk about it's more like tactical brilliance by Visma Lease Bike. But I don't think it was tactical brilliance. I think it was mistakes by UAE Team Emirates, because why on earth do you let Wout van Aert up in the break anyway? Because he is so dangerous. We saw the 10 minutes to 500 watts he did in the middle of a mountain stage before. You don't let Wout van Aert up the break. Satellite riders isn't an original tactic. It's been done so many times in this year's Giro d'Italia. So I don't understand why UAE Team Emirates underestimated that. And Wout van Aert is such a phenomenal rider, as we've said. And I think that was so I feel like it was more Wout van Aert and them winning. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That UAE made so many mistakes that could have been kind of squashed quite easily if they've just thought about it a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to oversimplify this, but like you say, Wout van Aert got him a break. I mean, he's a satellite rider, and pretty much the whole UAE Team Emirates structure, their whole plan for the day was completely foiled by two guys, which was Simon Yates and Wout van Aert. And like you say, it's not an original plan. Wout van Aert's in a break for one reason and one reason only, which is that Simon Yates is going to attack on the Finestre. And even if doesn't attack and he gets dropped, Wout van Aert's there to try and help him back in that valley, because up to the base of Finestre of Sestlière is 2%. It just drags. It's such a, if you got somebody to work in front of you, it's fantastic because you can save so much energy. So it was always inevitable that Wout van Aert was going to be doing that, especially since it's got a 10-minute gap to the break. Of course he's going to be able to do that. So when Simon Yates attacks on the Finestre, you've got to be thinking in the back of your mind, Wout's up the road, he's going to be using Wout over the top, and I'm isolated right now, so I've got to try and get this back now on the climb. And Del Toro didn't even hit the front on the Finestre, apart from when Carapaz overcooked a corner somehow on an uphill, and then Del Toro was forced to the front. It was so weird. I don't get why Del Toro wasn't doing more on the Finestre to close Yates down. The writing was on the wall what was going to happen when Yates crested that climb, and Del Toro needed to try to close that down on the climb and not wait until afterwards.
Yeah, true. I don't. Yeah, it's kind of like his whole Giro kind of blew up on the very last moments when you didn't need it. He's been riding so well in the third week. That stage win, he's still going to be the youngest rider in the classification. But yeah, so unfortunate. But I mean, other than that, I mean, other riders, Derek G looking very strong as well. Yeah, Carapaz, what did you make of his whole final stage as well in terms of the mountain stages? Did he play it well? I mean, EF and Israel, they were the ones who were kind of leading them into that mountain. But could Carapaz actually have won the Giro or not? Or do you think maximum was second place?
I think he could have won it. I think that his problem was that he was being marked by Del Toro and he just wasn't going to be allowed up the road. And there's no way that Carapaz wasn't trying his absolute best on the Finestre to try and drop him, like, because that'd be ludicrous to suggest that Carapaz was taking it easy for some reason on the Finestre. So Carapaz was going full gas, and it wasn't dropping Del Toro. So yeah, there's nothing more I think Carapaz could have done. They could have done with a satellite rider up the road, but who knows what might have happened. Because UAE was so focused on EF, if they tried to get a guy up the road, would that have really started to ruin things and they would have forced Chase to break back? I think Carapaz, yeah, he could have won, and maybe he wanted a harder day rather than it just being kind of like one 1 hour climb test. But yeah, maybe he could have done, but I just don't think he wasn't good enough today to dispatch Del Toro on the Finestre. And after that, it was just game over.
Yeah, I agree. I really think that UAE should have been marking every breakaway rider from Visma or EF with 2 riders. I think they should have been doing that all day. Just like, you send 1, we send 2. You send 1, we send 2. But yeah, letting Wout van Aert in the break, that's going to be the thing that they lie in the hotel tonight and in Rome tomorrow, that we shouldn't have done that. That was the big mistake, and not having any breakaway rider up there as well. But out of the final top 10, Patrick, what do you think of the top 10 of this year's Giro d'Italia? Let's just hear a view on that as well before we stop.
I think it's generally quite a surprising top 10. Yeah. Anybody out there who called that top 3 must have been drunk or something when they made that prediction, because I don't think anybody would have made that prediction. And the fact that there's no Roglic or Ayuso in here. But in terms of individual performances, I mean, obviously Del Toro in second is still a fantastic ride from him. G in fourth was also an incredible performance. We saw last year in the Tour how he was developing into a GC rider, and I think he's taken another step forwards with that. And minus those little bits of time that he lost, and those in Albania. Do you remember that first day where he lost a minute or something? He'd honestly be a bit closer to the podium. And I would also say Pellizzari actually in 6th place, given the fact that he was on Roglic support duty for most of the race and was only really given freedom inside this last few days. He's absolutely rocketed up the standings, and if he wasn't forced to help Roglic throughout the whole race, he probably would have been top 5, dare I say. So I think that's a really impressive one from me. I mean, McNulty gets a top 10 for UAE. It's well done, UAE. You get. I feel like there's just been a few personal ambitions going on in the UAE camp, which has kind of squandered things as well. I feel like McNulty's just been a little bit of a strange one this race for them. But yeah, I think that's my overall assessment. Caruso's stealthing a top 5, classic.
Yeah, classic for Caruso. But yeah, heartbreak for Mexico and Isaac Del Toro. Absolutely joy for everyone in Bury in the UK and the Yates household adding their second Grand Tour courtesy of Simon Yates. And what a impressive finish to this year's Giro d'Italia in terms of the competitive nature. But there's still one more stage, and that is of course the Rome stage, but that's going to be more a ceremonial one for the GC riders. But Anyways, with that, that's basically it for Patrick and myself. Thank you to every single one of you who've tuned in for the recaps as well. Hit the like button, comment down below, and of course check out Patrick's own channel, Outdo Cycling, where there will be plenty of more race talk going on as well. But for now, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.